Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we are going to talk about this month's Patreon vote winner, Motel Hell. Because the theme was all hotels and motels. I guess because it's summery, vacation. And this is what won. Motel Hell won. It's from 1980, and it is a film about a couple who own a motel, but they're also farmers, pig farmers and butchers.
Also not a couple, the brother and sister.
Oh, the brother and sister, sorry. You're quite right. Why did I think they were a couple? I don't know.
No, yeah, well, they seem like they are, but
yeah, there's definitely some incesty vibes from them. Then I'm not, yeah. But we have them. They run this hotel, and they also make meat. It's a really weird combination. Like you don't often get motels that also do pig farming in the back.
I mean, I'll just say this right up top that yeah, the theme was supposed to be kind of hotel motel horror movies, and motel aspect of this really doesn't come into play that much.
No,
I would say this is more a crazy farmer movie.
Yeah, it happens to have a motel involved, and they use that to lure some people in, but that's not really the focus of the movie. We'll start spoiler free, as we always do, of course, and we'll go into full spoilers after we warn you in the middle. But yeah, so Farmer Vincent and his sister/wife, they basically, like, it goes like a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes before it reveals what they're actually up to. Like, because up until that point, it's like, oh, maybe they're just really nice, because he's out, like, hunting one night, and, you know, there's a car accident, or motorbike accident, more specifically, and that this girl named Terry kind of, like, you know, is a survivor, and he brings her back to the motel, and sort of they nurse her a little bit. I don't know why she kind of sticks around. Like, once the sheriff shows up, who happens to also be the brother of Vincent, like, it's a family matter.
Yeah, I was confused for a while about their relationship. So I guess they are brothers.
Yeah, they are actually brothers.
Okay, all right.
And so yeah, like, so it's like Terry finds out about her friend who's also on the bike with her dying, and they're like, oh, she can stay here. We could use the help around the farm and the motel. And all I was thinking was, but she's an adult. She could go home where she lives. This is what people do. It was weird to me. Like, why is it? And it's like, no, you should probably, like, rest and get better and heal before you go home. Like, she's walking around and talking. She's fine. She can go home.
Yeah, her whole character was really weird.
Baffling. Baffling.
Yeah, I mean, both in terms of, why is she staying here, and also, like, some of the choices she ends up making. But just to go back a little bit to something you said earlier, where you said, like, you're not really sure what these people are up to at first. I agree with that, except for, like, if you've seen any horror movie, I think it's pretty easy to guess, like, what's going on.
Sure, you could guess. All right, so they're using human meat and with their meat, right?
Spoiler alert.
'Cause that's the thing. The lobby, the foyer of the motel has like boxes of meat, like, you know, beef jerky and stuff, like, for sale. And it's like, okay, yeah, Farmer Vincent's meat, you can buy it right here in the front of the motel. But what you're not going to predict is that they actually put people in the ground to kind of ripen them before they use them.
I was real confused about this. Like, I didn't understand exactly the point of that. Like, does it make that much of a difference then, as opposed to just, you know?
So the visual is that you just see their heads sticking out. They have, like, sacks on their head most of the time. But then
it is a cool visual. I like that.
When they lift up the sacks, there's these just heads sticking out. They've cut all their vocal cords, so they can't actually speak. They can just make this sort of raspy noise, and it's a very sort of alien sort of mood and feeling.
Zombie-ish.
Yeah. So this is kind of the main premise of the movie. So we're still spoiler free here. This is just kind of what it is. Most of the posters and stuff will have this on the front, and I think that because they force feed them something, right, during all this. So I guess they want to just feed them this for X amount of days, and they have to, like, have them trapped while they're doing that. So it just makes sense to trap them in dirt. And
all right.
And because it's like it's a crazy farmer, it's just like they're farming the humans, and it's I think it's more for the image and the symbolism than it is for the actual practicality of this is the best way of doing this.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guess anyway.
Yeah, no, because it is definitely like a cool visual. But yeah, it's just something I was scratching my head about. Like man, it seems like a lot of work for something that you could probably easily do other ways. But
yeah, I've actually skipped ahead a little bit because I've not asked a question. Tim.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, have you seen this before? Was this the first watch?
This is my first watch.
First watch. Okay, I'd seen it once before, just for reference. But Tim, did you enjoy Motel Hell?
Okay. So first of all, I just want to start right at the very, very beginning. So when they're doing the credits and they just show a big picture of like the main actor, Farmer Vincent, played by Rory Calhoun, and I was like laughing for like a minute straight because I don't know if you like The Simpsons, but there's like an episode where with Mr. Burns where he's trying to take all of the Greyhound puppies, and he keeps one that stands up because it reminds him of an actor, and he's like, "What's the name of that actor? You know, the one that's always walking and talking, the like Rory Calhoun." He's like, "Yes, like a little Rory Calhoun," and it was just funny because it's one of those like actors that I've never known in like any other instance other than like the Simpsons joke. So then just when I saw his big name on the screen, I just couldn't help but laugh. But that'll probably be humorous for like a couple other 32-year-olds that watch The Simpsons like me.
This is somehow leading to the yes or no of did you enjoy the film, but continue.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. It's not great. I thought it was a little long. Like I like it's I'll tell you what, it's definitely a lot crazier than I thought it would be.
Oh sure, yeah.
I assumed it was just gonna be a simple like, you know, crazy motel owner, you know, kills people or whatever, and there's a lot more to it. Not necessarily saying that the stuff that is there is good, but yeah, at points I thought it was like a little boring, and there wasn't like a ton of like gore and stuff, but there was some interesting visuals and ideas that I was actually surprised about with it, and there's actually a fair bit of comedy. Like I don't know, I think before I watched it, I brought up the like IMDb description or something, and it called it a horror comedy. I don't know if I would go that far, but I did definitely think there was like, you know, more jokes and stuff in it than I thought, and I did chuckle a few times. So it's just my long-winded way of saying I did like it. I didn't love it, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think that's how I'd kind of sum it up. I think it does sag a little bit in the middle. So it's an hour 40, which is a little bit long for a horror movie of this kind.
It could have been 85 easy.
Yeah, and I do think that some of the middle section does kind of drag, especially since, like, I think the plot with Terry...
You don't need to see him go tubing.
No. I really don't. The plot with Terry and her like sort of like maybe dating the sheriff and maybe being into Vincent, like all that stuff was just kind of like dragging for me. The traps to capture more people though were typically pretty fun. We'll get to some of them in spoilers. I do think that a lot of my like misgivings where I was kind of middling on it kind of go away in the last like 10 minutes when it goes absolutely batshit insane.
That's cool, yeah.
So, you know, it picks up quite a bit at the end. So it's kind of a weird, like, it's got a weird pace to it. And even the fact that it starts and ends with like a country song, it's like a really weird tone. And I don't know if it's necessarily the exact tone that I want in this type of movie. But there's definitely a point when someone walks out wearing something, wielding something, in the final sort of conflict, if you will. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of shitty insane. I'm kind of into this. So that was pretty cool.
It almost reminds me like almost like a maybe made up of like sketches more than like a kind of like cohesive storyline, because it seems like there's definitely kind of like segmented parts to it where, you know, it's like all right, these people are, you know, gonna, you know, get trapped now, and then it's like, oh, these people, and especially since like, you know, the parts that are kind of played for comedy, and yeah, it kind of makes it seem like a little weird in the way that it's presented.
Yeah, it definitely extends the length of it, and it feels like it goes on a little bit longer than it should because of that. I think one of the bigger problems I have with it, though, is that I don't really have a character to root for. I think Terry's kind of a weird character that I can't really get behind because she feels like her choices don't line up with anything that a human being would actually decide. And then
No.
Bruce, the sheriff, the brother of Vincent, like I wasn't sure for so much of the film as if he knew what was going on and if he was in on it, or
Neither did I.
or if he was actually like an okay person. And even though and even if he is an okay person, there's like a couple of scenes in the middle where you kind of don't like him for other reasons. He's kind of unlikable. He's kind of a douchebag. So, and then you could root for the villains, and that can work. Like you definitely have films where that works. So your Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I mean, maybe rooting's not quite the right word, but you can follow the villains.
Yeah.
But here it's kind of this 50-50 thing, and it doesn't really commit to either or.
No, I'd agree with that.
And that kind of murkies it up a little bit. So it's hard to really like put your foot down and sort of really follow one character. And I think that's kind of my biggest problem with it. It hurts it. And you add that to the pacing issues, and I think that's why the middle chunk of the film really suffers. But hey, so I think we'll give the spoiler warning then, so we can start talking about specifics. So full spoilers for Motel Hell, and of course their sign says Motel Hello, but the O's flickering out, hence the Motel Hell. So the people they trap, at first there's the vet guy, the checkup service who comes out to like inspect the pigs.
Well, technically, wouldn't the first be the Terry and her boyfriend?
Oh sure, but you don't really see them like their plan to trap him or anything like that.
Although I actually thought it was hilarious, like when they crash on their motorcycle, because it's like the most like it seems like so like unimpactful. Like it's not like a very intense crash. It's kind of like they're just going and then they wobble a little bit and then they just kind of slightly fall over.
Yeah, it's just a light tap. Yeah. But no, the inspector guy, like
Bob, I think.
Well, Bob, there you go. He falls in the mud, and Vincent's like being all friendly to him, but he comes snooping back around to look at this secret garden, and he finds the 1 second. Oh, pardon me. He finds the secret garden, and he pulls.
God bless you.
Yeah, he pulls the sack off the head, and right at that point, that's when Vincent attacks him. So his isn't that exciting because it's just kind of like setting up what's going on. This is when we find out. This is the first time we see the heads, and it's very surreal, and it sets up the rest of the film. But the one that I want to talk about, because they basically set up different traps. Because there was one with some bear traps, and afterwards they capture this couple, and then they're sitting him and his sister Ida. They're kind of talking about how he really loves trapping people. Like he really has a passion for it. And my favorite one. My favorite one is the two ladies who are driving, and they've put out like cardboard cutouts of cows. They're fake cardboard cutouts of cows, and they stop the car and they're like, "Oh shit, there's cows!" And I went, "What? They're so obviously fake." And what really got me, the line that killed me, is one of them turns and says to the other one, "I don't know. They look kind of fake. They don't look kind of fake. There's no mistake. I know it's nighttime, but they're still cardboard."
Like, I think the most you could give them is like they're driving, they see something in the road and they stop and go like, "Oh wait, what is that?" But then like after 2 seconds of looking, they should go, "Oh, those are cardboard, aren't they?"
We can just drive through them because they're cardboard.
At the very least, even if you're not sure if they're real or not, you should probably know that like real animals do not stand completely still in like mid-stride poses.
Yep. And instead of just driving through them, one of them turns to the other one and says, "That you go and move them." And she's like, "No." So here, take the gun. I've got a gun. But luckily, Vincent's agile enough that he jumps out with his gas, his little gas mask that he uses to knock them out, and they go down. So that one was fun.
Now, I would say here's a problem with this is, like you said, they have that scene where he's all depressed and he's talking about how. Well, actually, not even depressed. He's happy because he's talking about how much he likes these traps and how much they give him like this need for artistic creativity, which that right there, it's like that's like a great thing to explore. Like, if that's the character's like passion. That should be what the movie is about. It should be him
Yeah.
trying to think of clever ways to trap people, but you really only get that one cow scene. Like like you said, there's the other scene where he lays out bear traps and stuff, but that's not like a creative
there is
thing.
one more, right? I think we can't discount the swinger invitation trap.
Oh sure. Oh true.
Because this one might be the best one. It's gold.
I'm sorry though. Was this a legitimate trap or was this just a confusion thing?
No, it was legitimate because once they like showed them the little like article in the magazine or whatever, it's like, oh, I didn't realize that was going out this month. So I think
they sent that out on purpose. Oh,
they
okay.
did that to trap. And it turns out the guy, because this man and his wife come, and he's kind of like smarmy and sleazy, and she's kind of a a ditzy kind of blonde, and he actually loves his meat, like Vincent, Farmer Vincent's meat.
Everyone loves his meat.
Apparently they do. And he's so excited to meet him, and they keep making these little cheeky things, and they see Terry at one point. Oh, bring your daughter. It's like, oh, she's not our daughter. So that was creepy in itself. So it cuts to the room, and they're in the room, and the guy's wearing like a bra and like panties and stuff, and the woman's in like a sort of cat suit, kind of skin tight outfit.
She's like wearing this like dominatrix thing, and my God, this woman is so disrespectful. Like she's going around whipping the entire room, which, hey, like if that's your kink, that's totally fine. But she's like in a motel room and she's like, knocking down the lamps and like pictures in the wall and stuff. Like she's causing so much damage. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah. So Vincent and Ida come into the room with the gas and stuff, and they're just like, oh, you're going to tie us up, and they tie them both up. Like, oh, you got gas. This is laughing gas. Oh, this is great. Do it. And then, so they basically just willingly get taken. But they're so enthusiastic about the possibility of having sex with these two that it's actually really funny, and it's probably one of the best sections of the film, just in terms of entertainment value. In fact, it does start a weird trend though, where much younger women are attracted to Vincent, even though he's like 65. Because later, so one of the running plots of the movie which drags on a little bit too long is that the sheriff, Bruce, is into Terry. He's got a crush on her. And he asks her out to a movie, and they go out to the movie, and there's this really awkward scene where he kind of forces himself onto her for like a good solid minute, and then he eventually gives up. And it has to be said, he gives up because he thinks he hears her say, oh, please stop that, in a sort of screamy voice, and it's not actually her. She's just kind of like struggling away. So after this scene, it's hard to like root for him in any capacity because even if he doesn't know what's going on, he's still kind of a dick bag for this. It's the whole thing. But then later on,
you definitely don't want I guess he's the closest thing we have to a hero, but you really don't want to root for him.
Yeah, sadly that's true. But here's the thing: later on, it turns out that Terry is actually attracted to Vincent because. Ida finds out that Vincent was basically hinting to Terry that, oh, I'm going to show you how to smoke the meat like we do. I'm going to teach you all of our secrets. Almost as if she'll be the protege who can carry this on when he's dead. And Ida gets jealous of this and tries to take her out to the lake to murder her. And almost does, but Vincent jumps in and saves her. And it's after this where she basically just like takes her top off in front of Vincent. Just pulls down the sheets and like, oh, Vincent, take me now. And tries to take him. And Vincent, with his morals, is like, oh, no. We'd have to be married first. It's like, oh, is that a proposal? And he never actually says if it is. He just goes and arranges the priest for the next day. He's like, hey, I want to get married tomorrow with this Terry girl. So go on, let's do it.
This is so confusing. Like, one, it's never really, like, set up that there's anything between them. Like, if anything, it seems like she... is treating him like a father figure because there's a bunch of stuff where she's like going around and like, she'll be like, all right, bye, and like give him like a little kiss on the cheek, but it feels very much like a father-daughter kind of thing. And then, all of a sudden out of nowhere, she's just like trying to like jump his bones. And then, so that, like, that's like weird and creepy enough. But then it's also equally weird that, all right, he's not into it, but at the same time, he's like, I guess we should get married. But like you said, he never seems like he's super excited about it or that he wants to even do it.
Yeah, it's weird. And of course, then the sheriff finds out about this from the priest. And the priest also confiscates his hustler, which when he goes back to the motel, his sister Ida is currently reading the same issue of Hustler. That was kind of weird.
I think the priest was kind of a funny character. He's just in it for a little bit, but he's like very sleazy, and he had like a couple of funny lines.
He's like, yes, because the sheriff's like, oh, I confiscated this off of some of the kids, you know. He's like, oh, very well. Can you give me that, please, sheriff, and I will properly dispose of it. And he's like, oh, okay. He hands it over. But yeah, so the final whole portion of the film where the sheriff comes over to try and save her, and he ends up getting knocked out. But it's during this time when one of the heads, if you will, managed to get up. In fact, yeah, the Bear Traps one was like a van full of like, you know, rock hippies or
punk
whatever.
rockers.
Yeah, and so they're being like sort of like cut up and like put through the processing at this point, because there's a really weird scene where they kill them. Now the way they kill them is kind of fun because they put like nooses around all their necks, and then the tractor drives and it snaps their necks. That was kind of fun. The hypnosis stuff before that, I'm not really sure what the point of that was.
I mean, it kind of feels like similar to the planting them thing, where I don't know if there's like if this is necessary, but it does create kind of like a weird trippy visual, and like like I kind of dug it in a like, oh, this is kind of like far out but interesting, but yeah, it's definitely not needed. Yeah,
very possibly. So one of them actually gets out and they lets the other ones out. So they basically all kind of like the zombies come after Ida. But meanwhile, Vincent's trying to show Terry what's happening, and she finds out partly from the sheriff, who was kind of like trying to tell her this, that no, there's human meat, there's human bodies involved in this, and Vincent just becomes honest and he starts telling her all about it and how it's important and how it's not that bad and all the rest of it. And she of course freaks out, and he's like, well, Ida was right, you'll never be one of us, and tries to like, you know, like tie her to the table and cut her up so she'll be food next.
You know, it's kind of messed up of the sheriff that I think he mentions that he's kind of been investigating this for a while now, but it's like, all right, well, so you kind of knew this was going on, but it isn't until you think that, you know, this guy is moving in on your girl that you're going to do anything about it.
I question how much he knew. Like, he doesn't seem to know about the human meat. It's also worth mentioning that at one point Ida is about to tell, because they're like a picnic, so all four of them are at a picnic, and Ida's about to tell her, do you want to know what he mixes in with the pork to make it taste as good as it does? And Vincent actually just leans over and punches her in the stomach to get her to shut up. And this is right after they're all having a conversation about how when they were kids, they cooked and ate a dog, and started talking about how it tasted. And like, poor Terry's just sitting there looking disgusted the entire time, like a normal human being.
Yeah, and yet, again, she feels that this is the man she's gonna marry.
Yeah, so this much older man who's ate dog is the man for her. But so this is where it gets nuts.
I mean, again, just to go back to it again, like you said though, like, doesn't she have a home? Like, like presumably when she was on that bike in the beginning with her boyfriend, like, you'd think that they were going somewhere,
or she came from somewhere. Maybe she lives with her parents. Regardless, she still has a home. She still has somewhere to go. It's not like she's homeless. And so anyway, this is when Sheriff wakes up. He goes into the butcher area. He finds Terry strapped to this table, and that's when Vincent comes out with a chainsaw with a pig head on his head. And we get a chainsaw vs chainsaw fight where the villain's wearing a pig's head.
This is pretty cool.
This is awesome. This is glorious. This was like, you know, I was kind of bored of the main premise of the film right before this, and then this just kind of woke me up, and this was really fun. And, you know, of course, eventually he wins and he cuts him, and it's actually kind of comical. There's like the old school, because Terry's like tied to the table that leads to the buzzsaw, or the saw that cuts the meat, and she's actually like, you know, going towards it slowly, like an old Bond movie,
or like one of those kind of like old like cartoons or something where someone's like tied to a saw.
Yeah, so that's basically what's happening in the scene, and then eventually, like, you know, in fact, when the sheriff comes to save her, he actually grabs one of the meat hooks and uses that to like get across. He kind of like, it's almost like an Indiana Jones move. He slides into the room on the meat hook. But you know, this is kind of fun.
Fun, yeah.
But that's basically the movie. They just kind of leave, and she's like, "Oh, maybe you should burn the motel." and that's kind of it. That's the ending, and then country music kicks in.
And then they go back to the secret garden where they find that Ida's been buried, and basically just see her legs sticking out of the ground.
Yeah, still kicking for a little bit until she suffocates. Yep, that's the thing. That's the thing. But it's kind of weird because at the end of the movie, I'm like, well, I didn't really like you very much, Sheriff Bruce. You know, you were kind of a dickbag. And then, like, I mean, I guess I don't dislike Terry, but I don't understand her. She's made so many weird choices that it's hard. You know, I think unfortunately it's kind of in this weird middle place where it has a few really great like funny scenes and like wacky ideas, but it also doesn't go far enough in that direction where I can completely forgive it for having characters that are hard to like get into.
You know what I would say? I actually wouldn't mind seeing like a remake of this, like because you know there's enough like interesting ideas that but also like enough stuff that I'm not crazy about that I wouldn't feel is like too sacred. That you might be able to do an interesting new movie.
I think something that focuses more on the traps.
Oh yeah. I feel like this is kind of all over the place. I feel like they really have to like pick a direction and kind of go with that.
Yeah, and obviously keep the chainsaw fight with the pig head because.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's the highlight of the movie. Like, you got the swinger scene and you've got the pig head scene, and those are the scenes that are kind of like prop it up a little bit more than it actually would be.
And we didn't really mention it, but I did like the scene where it's not as good as those scenes, but it made me laugh when there's like a chase scene between one of those girls that falls for the cow stuff, and as she's like driving away, she's radioing for help, and it's just funny when she's like the sheriff is picking up her radio stuff, and it's just like weird they're back and forth.
Yeah, especially since like he ends up in pursuit to try and get and help the girl, not knowing that it's actually his brother who's the one who's going after her in the first place. It's got a weird like cat and mouse kind of thing going there for a little bit. I just wish I liked the characters more, and I wish that it had a more fun tone for the rest of the film, because there's a few scenes where it gets really fun, but there's a lot of scenes where it's just got this kind of weird tone. It's kind of like halfway between a comedy and something like Texas Chainsaw, and I don't really know where it lands, and it's just, I don't know, like I don't love it.
It's uneven.
It's uneven. There you go. That's a good word.
And it's it's a shame because with a little bit of a tighter script and just maybe really focusing on one more specific aspect and having better characters, it could have been something like maybe not a something that would stand along like other titans of horror, but something that maybe be a little more fondly remembered.
Maybe just have Terry have a reason to stick around at the motel. Like maybe she's just scared to go home because she's so distraught, and that's fine. Yeah. Instead, in this, like they just expect her to stay, and she just kind of does, and immediately starts acting normal, like nothing's ever happened. She's just acting friendly, and she's kind of, eventually flirty with Vincent. Like that's the whole thing.
And like at first, she seems so broken up about her boyfriend. I think was the boyfriend's name like Bo or something like that. Something, but like I kept expecting her to maybe like find some type of evidence that he's still alive or something, and that would be like her kind of reason for sticking around. But no, it's weird. It's kind of like she's like a final girl, I guess, but like one that is like willing to one that doesn't want to kill the killer.
Yeah, she just kind of stays around just cause, and then that's it. And then eventually she's in trouble right at the very end. But I don't know. It's weird. There's no momentum with her character. It's just very bizarre. And I think that's true of the film. There's no momentum for a lot of it, which is kind of a shame. But there's a few standout scenes, and it's not terrible. I don't think it's ever terrible. It's never bad per se. It's just it doesn't all quite come and click together into a cohesive whole.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about it again, like freaking Bruce being a creep, but the bathtub scene.
Oh shit! Yeah, when he comes out and she's in the bath. Yeah.
But it's not even though like he thinks she's like in danger, and I think it is kind of funny that when he finds out that Vincent's gonna marry her, that he obviously instantly thinks like, oh, he's doing something to her, like surely this is against her will. But then, at that point when he's like trying to bust into our bathroom and she's like, no, I'm taking a bath, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah, Uneven. That was the best word for it. You said you got it in one, Tim. You got it in one. Uneven.
Yeah.
Uneven. I wish it was better than it was. I really do. But it's again, it's not super bad, but it's just kind of it's not quite hitting the high notes either. But yeah, so I guess we'll rate the film out of 10. So what would you give it, Timmy?
I think I'm gonna give it a 5.5, which might seem a little low, but really, I guess for the amount of times that I got bored, I feel like I can't rate it too high. Like the good parts, would definitely be up there, but yeah, since it is kind of mishmash with this other parts I didn't care about or got bored with, I feel like I can't really go too high.
Honestly, I agree with that score, 5.5.
Yeah.
I think I can't quite give it the 6. I don't have enough fun with it to go straight with the 6, but
yeah, that's my feeling. Yeah,
but it's just a nudge over the 5 because it does have like the swinger scene, the pig head scene at the end, the cow cut out scene. Like, there's just a few really fun scenes that really elevate.
And I think maybe if there was like maybe more gore or kill scenes or something that was also kind of fun like that, could elevate it a little bit. But because it's like it's a pretty tame. Like there's some weird stuff, but I wouldn't say there's really too like much gory stuff or anything.
Yeah, no, I concur with that. So it's a bit of a murky movie overall, but yeah. So there you go, 5.5s all around from us.
I will say I'm glad I watched it though. Like it's it was my first time, and I'm not disappointed at having seen it.
No, it's not one I regret watching for sure. Admittedly, I've seen it twice now. I don't know if I'm ever going to feel the need to watch it again.
Yeah, this is not the one where you see Arrow is doing a 3-disc collector's edition that you get, that you get excited for. It's not that kind of movie, but
although funnily enough, it's the Arrow Blu-ray that I've got. I bought it blind when it first came out. That's how I saw it.
I don't blame you. You see a title like Motel Hell, you gotta think it's gotta be good, right?
To be fair, some of my Arrow and Scream Factory blind buys have worked out very well for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, if there's one company that I kind of trust a little bit to, just buy on faith, it'd be those guys.
So hey, but that has been this Screams After Minutes. So that was a Patreon vote. We should mention patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can go over there and get access to vote on a movie once a month. Typically get 4 options, and you pick one of those 4. This month's theme that's up for patrons right now is all car and vehicle based.
All right.
Duel's up, the Car's up, the Hearse is up, and Joyride, aka Roadkill, are all up. So those are the 4 movies up for patrons to vote on right now for next month's Patreon bonus episode. So go and have a look and vote. And of course, if you want to support us, go over to Patreon and do that. Even at $1 is fantastic. If you can't even afford $1, don't worry about that. You can also support us by liking, subscribing, commenting, all that stuff. All of it helps. All of it is worthwhile, and we appreciate it all. So thank you very much for any of that. But that is us. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. You can see my Twitter on the screen at Wibble89. Tim's is at Tim Vargulish over on the other side of the screen. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching, guys. Keep watching scary movies, and we'll see you next time.